All right, let's take a look at multiplying and dividing integers 1-3. So up in our table of contents, if we slide all the way up there, you can see we're filling out the date, multiplying and dividing integers, learning goal number 8. So go ahead and do that now. Let's take a look at learning goal number 8. It says, I will be able to multiply and divide integers. So let's head back down to that lesson today and take a look. So the first thing to realize is that multiplying and dividing integers is not the same rules as addition and subtraction of integers. And so what we're going to do is we are going to multiply or divide just as you normally would do. So go ahead and fill that in now. And then here's the trick to remember how to multiply or divide integers. So the first one is called sleepy face. So this is our sleepy face guy right down here, or girl. You see the sleepy eyes and the mouth. And so here's how this works. It helps you decide if the answer is positive or negative. And what you do is you cover up the signs from the two numbers given in the problem on the sleepy face. Okay, so for example, if we look down here at this expression, I see a -8, and so I would cover up the negative, and I see a +7, so I'd cover up the positive, and my answer ends up being negative. So number 2 here says the sign that is remaining is the sign of your answer. Okay, so that's how sleepy face works. It's an easy thing to draw. Let's go ahead down here and test it out on these problems. So you already did that with 8 times 7. So what you'll do is do 8 times 7 as you normally would. So 7 times 8 is 56. And then we cover up the negative, cover up the positive, and we're left with a negative. Now I do want you to start to realize another easy trick is if you can just remember that if you have opposite signs like a negative and a positive or a positive and negative, the negative and positive or positive and negative, both of those, there's those nice little brackets, are always going to equal a negative answer, okay? If you have two of the same thing, both of those are always going to equal positive. That's another quick just thing. If you can just remember that, the opposite ones are always going to be negative. If they're the same, they're always going to be positive. It's a nice, easy way to just think about those without even any other silly tricks. So next one, we can see that you have two negatives. So if we're thinking about that trick that we just talked about, two negatives are always going to be a positive, just like two positives are always going to be a positive with multiplying and dividing. But sleepy face wise, you'll see it works the same way. So a -4 and a -8, we are left with a positive. 4 times 8 is 32, and there we go. All right, sleepy face. I see division, so I'm going to do sleepy face, or just think about my other tricks. I see a positive and a negative. Since they're opposite signs, it's automatically going to be a negative answer. But I can go ahead and cover those up, and you can see I am left with a negative with my sleepy face method. So 10 divided by 2 is 5, but it is negative. All right, and this, we have a -6 divided by a -2. That's the same thing as I wrote it. I see that they're both negative, so I already know two of the same thing. Answer is going to be positive. Sleepy face wise, we cover up our negatives. You can see that that is also accurate. So we just do the problem as normal. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and then use our trick to know whether it's positive or negative. Okay. All right, down here, now we're using this love-hate relationship trick. So let me go ahead up here and we'll explain that. So again, this helps you decide on the sign, whether it's positive or negative. And here's how it works. When you look at the signs of a multiplication or division problem, if they are both positive, we already know the answer is going to be negative. If they're both negative, we already know the answer's, if they're both positive, the answer is positive. If they're both negative, the answer is also positive. So anytime they're the same, the answer is positive. Here's another trick to remember it. So if you love, so love is going to be positive. If you love to love, well, think about that. What that means. If you love loving, that means you love. Okay? And love is represented by positive. It's a positive thing. If you hate, to hate, think about what that means. I don't like hating. If you don't like hating, well, then what does that mean that you like? That means you like to love. So again, it still follows our same plan of if it's the same thing, it's always positive, the same sign. All right, now we have the opposites. We already know these opposites are going to equal negative every single time. But let's go through this little trick of love-hate relationship. If you love to hate things, well, if you love hating, doesn't that mean that you hate? Okay, and so that ends up being a negative. Okay, what about if I hate to love? Meaning I don't like loving. If I don't like loving, well, doesn't that mean that I hate? And so again, you can see for the ones that are the opposites both equaled a negative at the end, and the ones that were the same sign always equaled positive. So I think that's the easiest one to remember, but you can use any trick that you want. Let's go ahead and we'll look at the love-hate relationship with these problems here, but also talk about our other concept that we are acknowledging. So I see its division, so I'm going to use the sleepy eyes or the love-hate. For this one, we're modeling love-hate. So I see love is positive, so I have a love, and I have a negative, which is hate. So I love to hate. If you love to hate, that means that you hate, okay? And hate is negative, okay? Again, think about our other trick. I see I have opposite signs. Opposite signs will always equal negative, okay? Solve the problem. 9 divided by 3 is 3, and I know it is a negative. Next one here is a negative 100 divided by a negative 5. Right away, I see my two negative signs, and I know negative times a negative, or negative divided by a negative, or positive, 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 always equal positive at the end. And so either way, with our love-hate trick, this means that we hate to hate. If I don't like hating, that means that I love, and it is going to be positive like we said. So 100 divided by 5 is 20, and it is positive. All right, next one, we have multiplication. So again, we're using sleepy eyes or love-hate or our other understanding. I see that the signs are different, so I already know the answer is going to be negative. But let's follow this love-hate. 2 times 6 is 12. What sign is it going to be? Well, according to this, I hate to love. Okay, it's a negative and a positive. So if I hate to love, I don't like loving, that means that I hate, and that's a negative. So my answer is a negative. All right, and last one, we have multiplication. I see the two negatives, so I already know if it's two of the same thing, it's always going to be positive. And so we solve 3 times 7 is 21. I already know it's positive, so I'm good. Our love-hate trick, this means I hate to hate. And if I don't like hating, okay, that means that I love instead. Okay, so verifies our answer. All right, what I want you to do now is pause for this section. I'm going to have you try out all your new rules, but also we're going to review some of the addition subtraction so you don't forget those as well. So a little mix up. So go ahead and pause, and then you can check your work with me afterwards. All right, now that you have gone through that, let's go ahead and remind you of some helpful hints with this. So remember that our addition is just our song, okay? And that song is same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract, keep the sign of the bigger digit, then you'll be exact. We know subtraction can easily be switched back to an addition problem just by looking at the numbers that you see and understanding how to make that change, or you can also do your KFC. So let's just look at an example of that. For example, right here we have a -2 and a -6. So when I see that, I see my two numbers are a -2 and a -6. So I already know that my addition for that is -2 and, or plus, a -6. I can also do our KFC, okay, keep, flip, change. And so I know that the -2 minus 6 can be transformed into keep the -2, flip the sign, and change the 6 to a -6. So it still creates the same thing, okay? All right, now our multiplication or division, we have our two tricks, which are sleepy eyes, and that can be drawn like that. We also have our love-hate relationship to help solve that, or we can just think about our trick of, we know if the signs are the same, then it's always going to be positive. If they're different, they're always negative. So let's go ahead through these and see how you did. Right away, I see division, and I see the signs are different. I already know my answer is negative. I'm going to go ahead and use sleepy face to verify. So cross out the positive, cross out a negative. I'm left with a negative. So 9 divided by 3 is 3, and it is negative. All right, I have addition, so I'm singing my song. Same signs, add and keep. So 6 plus 2 is 8. Keep the sign of the negative because I'm joining two negatives. All right, we have multiplication, so I'm going to have to use my sleepy eyes or love to hate. So let's see. I hate to hate. If I hate hating, that means I love. I also know they're the same signs, so the answer is always positive. So 3 times 7 is 21. All right, next one. I have a subtraction. So right away, I want to turn subtraction to addition. I see a 7, and I see this right here, which we know is the opposite of -3. Opposite of -3 is a +3. So there's my addition. 7 plus 3 is 10. All right, over to here now. We have multiplication. And so we're going to use sleepy eyes or just remember we have hating to hate. Okay, I don't like hating, so what's my answer going to be? Or I just see the two negatives, they're the same, therefore the answer is going to be positive. So 2 times 6 is 12, and there we go. All right, and then our next one, I see a -2 and a -6. It's our addition problem. I join those together, and I get -8. Okay, same signs, add and keep. All right, next one, another addition. Different signs, subtract. Keep the sign of the bigger digit, then you'll be exact. 7 minus 3 is 4. I had more negative, so that is negative. All right, and an addition problem. So we're doing our songs. I see a -7 and a -3. Join them together, or same signs, add and keep. So we end up with 10 negatives. All right, last column here, we have addition. So I have a -10 and a -4. Join them together, that's a -14. Okay, same signs, add and keep. Our multiplication, I see the two signs are the same. Answer's automatically going to be positive. Hate to hate, you know what that means. Here's my sleepy eyes. Automatically equals the addition. So 10 times 4 is 40. And I didn't mean to say addition, I meant positive. All right, and this one, -20 divided by -20. I see the two same signs. Anytime multiplying, dividing, the signs are the same, you're going to get positive answer. Or hate to hate, cross out my two sleepy eyes, I'm left with a positive mouth. 20 divided by 2 is 10, and that stays positive. All right, we do have 3 digits, but we're going to use our order of operations, and it is not confusing at all. So it's multiplication. My both signs are the same, so I know the answer is positive, 4, okay? Or cross out my two sleepy eyes, and I end up with the positive mouth. Then I have times a -2. So I have positive 4 times a -2. When the signs are not the same, I know my answer is negative. And so we end up with an 8, and that is a negative 8. Okay. So another thing you can sort of think of is when the signs are the same, that's really positive, that's nice. When they're different, that's a negative. We don't like that. All right, that is your page on multiplying and dividing integers. If you need any help with that or have any questions, let me know.